Welcome to Afros in the Diaspora. My name is Sarah. I am your host, and together we will vent, rant, laugh, and cry as we discuss the highs and lows of being an immigrant. Stay tuned for stories that will inspire, inform, entertain, and give hope. This is Afros in the Diaspora. Welcome to another episode of Afros in the Diaspora, and today we have Maya. Maya, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So excited to have you on today, and are you ready to dive into these icebreakers that I have for you?
Absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna start with a riddle.
Okay.
Okay, let me know if you need me to read it again or if you want a hint. Okay,
Okay, sure.
one. Okay, great. I have four legs, but I never
Okay.
walk. I may
Okay.
be covered in flowers, but I have no soil. I hold food three times a day, but never eat a meal. What am I?
I have four legs. I may
Mm-hmm.
be covered in flour or flowers.
Yeah, maybe covered in flowers, but you have no soil.
Okay.
Hold food three times a day, but never eat a meal. What am I?
How many tries do I have?
You can no, you can just give me like yeah, maybe let's say two. Let's say two tries. Let's hear your tries. What? A table. See, simple,
Is
easy.
it
Yeah,
a Okay.
that's it. That's
All
it. It's a
right.
table. Okay, that was a really simple one. I feel like I'm taking it too easy on people. That was very like okay now. All right, and for folks that don't know, I mean, folks probably don't know this, but Maya is from Zambia, so I'm gonna do a Zambia trivia with you. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready. Yeah.
Okay, good. Before, okay, I guess I could just say this question like this: what was
Mhm.
Zambia's former name before its independence?
That's easy. Northern Rhodesia.
See, I take it too easy on everybody, and they're like, okay. on what on what side do people drive in Zambia?
On the right.
Nope, on the left. On the left. Look,
And I
see,
was
you
home
see.
like a few years ago.
Just look at, just look at. Okay, so what is Zambia's calling code?
Oh, plus 260.
Okay, I see you call home frequently.
Mm-hmm.
When did Zambia become a republic?
1964, October 24th. Right.
Okay, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I know only the year, so I don't know if you're.
Okay.
I don't have the full answer with me.
Okay, no, it's all good.
That's all good. So who's the president of Zambia right now?
We call him HH, but his name is Hakainde Hichilema.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a
Uh,
very strong ethnic name there.
yeah. I often wonder what it means. Okay.
I don't know, but
You don't know?
it's if you pronounce it like with a Japanese accent, it sounds like a Japanese name.
Ooh. Okay.
Just give
Okay.
that a try.
I will not. I will not give that a try. Okay.
But that's
What?
just me. That's just me. Yeah.
Oh, that's all right. What's the capital city of Zambia?
Lusaka.
Like, I need to go find a really hard question because like this
Yeah, I
is
feel
this
like
is this is too
need to make
easy.
it tough. Hmm?
Okay, let me make it just a little bit tougher. I mean, it
Yeah.
depends. This may be also easy for you, but who were the first inhabitants of Zambia?
The first inhabitants
Would
of
you like
Zambia.
options? I actually do have options for that one.
Okay.
Okay, the Balubas, the Dembeles, Sotos, or Khoisan. I don't know
The
if I said
Balubas. The
I don't know if I said
Balubas.
any of those names right, and if I did
No,
not, I apologize.
I would say it's the Balubas.
Well, you got this answer wrong because
Okay.
it's the Khoisans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Because we don't have them anymore in Zambia. But
yeah,
no, no, we've never had them before. As far as my knowledge goes, they're mostly in Botswana. That's where they originated from. but it
Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. No, it says that they have inhabited the land that is now currently Zambia for thousands of years. So they're the
yes,
earliest known inhabitants of
yeah,
Zambia. Um, but awesome. Thank you for taking part in this short
yeah.
trivia slash
No, that was
icebreakers.
actually a lot of fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Now I know.
Now you know. Now you know.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's dive into our topic for today.
Okay.
We are talking about a few things, okay? So, would you like to start by just telling the people or telling us your immigration story of how you moved to Canada and what that process was like?
Okay. So I came to Canada in January 2012.
Mm-hmm.
This was well in Zambia. We when you graduate, we call it your grade 12, or you're from five.
Mm-hmm.
I way on to yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's like your we call it all level, and then you take 1 year off if you
Mm-hmm.
want, but usually you're given like 1 year off before you transition to university, right? So I
Oh.
took my 1 year off, and then a year later, I was very lucky to get the chance to come here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I when I first came to Canada, I was based in British Columbia, Vancouver, and I went to it's still there. It's called Fraser International College.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the as the name goes, an international college to help foreign students get into the Canadian like post-secondary system, especially when to go to university and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where my journey started, Vancouver,
Yeah.
about 12 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
12 years, man. Like,
Like this.
that is just blink and it's gone.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. So we're just honestly going to talk about a few things. We're talking about your story in general
Yeah.
and yeah, I let's start with friendships and building
Okay.
community cuz I know cuz as a woman, I've
Mm-hmm.
often heard that male
Yeah.
friendships are different from, female friendships and the
Okay.
way men make friends and have their own community like group of friends or whatever is different from the way women have their own community of friends and
Mm.
I've shared on this podcast in previous episodes, and I've had other people come and talk about what building community was like for them,
Mm-hmm.
and what making friends was like for them. But I'm really excited to hear from your point of view as a man. Like, what has
Okay.
that been like from your point of view? What has building community been like? Like when you moved from Zambia, what was that like for you? Trying to build community, find your own people. You're in a new space. You're here probably by yourself, and trying to
Mm-hmm.
start all over again. What was that like for you? What was building friendships like for you? Let's share about that.
Okay. Um, I don't know how far back I should go.
Go as
Mm.
far back as you want to.
Well, in my former life, I'm kidding. Um, so I went to an all boys Catholic school.
Hmm.
Yeah, so and I was a day scholar, which means I it wasn't a boarding school. I had to go back home every day.
Right.
And other than my friends at school, I didn't have friends at home. It was just me and my parents. So
Hmm.
my parents were my friends, which I
Yeah.
was very privileged
Yep.
to have.
That is a
Uh,
privilege for an
yeah,
African person to
it's a
say,
privilege, but it's
especially growing
also
up. Yeah.
it was a weird dynamic.
Yep.
So when I finally left home, it was different because the environment I was used to was for 5 years all boys,
Hmm.
and then for 1 year working, and then university, right?
Hmm.
Where there's
Yeah.
now like girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's more of a community. There's a diverse group of people, to even be more exact, there's a diverse spectrum of genders and people you get to meet, right? Especially when
Of
you come
course.
to
Canada.
Canada and the cities like Vancouver, right, which are
Yep.
very liberal, right?
Yes. Yes.
Um, so making friends, it initially started with people who were obviously from my own country, much like many people, because those
Hmm.
are the people who you have the most in common with,
Yeah. Of
and you're
course.
fresh and new, and you want to learn everything together.
Hmm.
And so most of them are. I won't say most of my friends, but very my closest friends were Zambian,
Mm-hmm.
and then um, the circle really grew.
Mm,
So we were um, we had like Zambians in my friend group. We had Iraqis, Kenyans, Ugandans, Nigerians. It was a very big group. People from the UAE, from Saudi Arabia.
mm,
We're a very multicultural group. It was lots of fun.
mm-hmm.
It was lots of fun. We started off maybe as five, and we ended up being 12. And we had friends from all over, from China, and these are close friends, from
Wow.
China, from India, Pakistan. So you get to meet and have a lot of cultural exchange. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was able to have many friends, and yeah,
That's a blessing because
yeah,
like most like you don't often get that. I know
yeah.
like my story is a little bit different because it was mostly Nigerians first because like you
Okay,
said, right? That's what you're familiar with,
yeah,
right? And then over time you become more open as you become more
yeah,
comfortable and you stay here longer. Then Canada is a multicultural place, like you've established, right? Like
yeah,
you start to open up to others and build relationships with all sorts of people.
yeah.
So like, would you be able to talk about like of those 12 friends from like school to like now a
Mm,
few years later, like would you be able to talk about like what that dynamic has been like, what like I guess the value of friendship,
mm,
and the ones that stay and the ones that kind of drift away? Would you be able to talk about like just even the idea of I guess in that way, the way your community will probably have evolved, from
yeah.
school to going into the workforce to being to adulting basically.
Mm-hmm. It was actually very interesting because the common thing that all brought us together was actually weed.
Wow.
Yes, so we all used to party and smoke weed together.
Okay.
So that's why our group was so diverse and fun, and it was the environment was non-judgmental and very accepting,
Right, right.
right? So we and it was fun because of the psychotropic effects that marijuana can have on you, right?
Right.
You have fun, you play, you rap, you just sit and laugh, and
Hmm.
you think about conspiracy theories.
Right.
And this was always a fun thing to do after class. Like
Of course.
after your course is done, after your 4 hour course is done, your 3 hour course is done that day, maybe you have one of those classes where you have like a lecture for 4 hours, and then maybe later on in the week you have like a some like a half hour session or 1 hour session with your TA. Any other time, and you all happen to be at the same time done with class, you just go to someone's dorm room and light a joint and
Yeah.
talk about how the Illuminati is running the world and
Oh
controlling us.
Lord, not the Illuminati.
So back in the day, that was the biggest thing.
Right.
It was fun. It was like lots of fun we used to do. And in the group, we had different characters. Some people were artists, they like drawing, others were rappers. So we liked hip hop and that stuff. So, people would play, like people would smoke up, put an instrumental, and then start freestyling.
Mm.
And it was fun because someone would say something, and then they rap about like a bottle, and then they rhyme like about the bottle that's on the table, the weed, and everyone goes through like, "Ah!"
Yeah.
It was always fun, and
Right.
yeah, it was always a good time. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
but so
it
how
it
is that
was. Yeah. How was that?
how has that like evolved, like you're no longer in school and like
Yeah.
adulting and well, how has that changed, I guess, is what I'm trying to ask.
How was that changed?
Yeah, are you still like friends with all those 12 people? Like, are you guys working in the same place, same industry or whatever? Like how has, cuz I know like you lose some friends, you gain more.
Mm,
And your community gets bigger or smaller depending on you. So like I guess my question is, how has that evolved for you? Like your sense of community and
yeah.
what that kind of looks like right now for you, coming from that, the school days with your friends that y'all just hang out together, have so much fun
Mm.
together, to like now.
So, from when from the first year, we were a big group, maybe like as I said, 12, 15.
12, yeah.
And then everyone had like their own friends, so we're all like friends with everyone, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so over the years, that number has dropped now from 12 to, I would say, I don't want to say zero because I'm still friends with them, but everyone like went in all kinds of directions.
Right, but the closeness,
People
I guess, is.
closeness, no.
Mm,
I mean, if some of them, if I really, really wanted to call them, absolutely, they'd pick up the phone and
of
just catch
course.
up, and
Mhm.
because that bond is always there. But because we've moved in different directions,
Mhm.
I can't be a priority for them.
Of
Not
course.
not because I'm not important to them, but because you just know how life is.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, of course. Things change.
yeah,
People get
things
married,
change,
have
people
kids,
change.
like have
Yeah, people are,
responsibilities
yeah,
and all that.
obviously. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
yeah,
That makes sense. So thanks for
yeah,
sharing about that.
of course.
Yeah, like I think I mean at the end of the day, like, I can speak for me. They're friend I've
Mm-hmm.
had relationships and friendships like growing up from even university back in Nigeria to
Yeah,
here. A few people from that I was friends with have also moved to Canada, and like
yeah,
maintaining friendships and especially at that level kind of dwindles and fades away to a point where you're kind of sort of now acquaintances, but you can always still pick up the phone and say hello and hi, and
yeah.
it'll be like old times, but the reality is you're just not as close as before. They're just not as much a part of your life as before. So I just sometimes wonder what that is like for a man,
Mm,
so I'm curious about for you, like when you moved here, like did you find that friend, like your sense of self and identity was impacted at all when you relocated to Canada? Did you find that wait, now you're around all these
mm-hmm.
all these races, and now they're referring to you as a black man, and now they're like there's all these
Yeah.
things that you're now having to kind of deal with and face that you probably never had to face back home in Zambia. So did you feel like you had to kind of did you feel like you kind of had to take a pause and kind of figure out your sense of self and sense of identity at all, or were you just like, hey, easy, 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 I'm Maya, period? Like, did you like,
No.
I'm really like, yeah, talk about it.
um, well, I would say that one thing that definitely changed, or I didn't really change, but it was kind of like the last nail in the coffin. When I was in my early teens, I started questioning religion a lot.
Mm,
My mom was very prayerful,
mm-hmm,
and I used to ask her like very deep questions. As I said, my parents were my closest friends outside of
mm-hmm,
school,
mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
I could ask like some open and deep questions about religion, and as I was like turning from like between, I would say like 13 to 16, it just got worse and worse. I started questioning like, you know, Christianity and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So now when I, you know, first came here and I realized that I could stay up at night and no one would, have to call, wonder where I am, or I can
Mm-hmm.
do anything. That's now the final nail in the coffin, right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it I be so my little sister even used to tell my mom like, "Mom, this guy is free spirited," and she would be like, "What the?"
What is that?
Like, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, coming here, I was, I turned away from religion, and I was just like, that song by Nelly Furtado. I'm like a bird, I wanna fly away. So I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
enjoying myself. I was not worried
Mm-hmm.
about anything. Yeah, but yeah, I think that was one thing that changed. But when I first got into the group with my friends, they used to refer to me as pastor
Ooh.
because I still had that like strong Christian like vibe with me,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I was always like kind of like the goody two shoes, like guys, let's go and study. And I'm like, nah, man, let's just smoke
Right.
a blunt, bro. You know?
Right. 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 Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but then eventually that months on that kind of went away. Then I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
but
So.
yeah, go
So
ahead.
did you find that, like, for instance, you've talked about spiritually, like, with in terms of religion, how do you find that was that impacted at all, or were you impacted at all culturally when you found that, well, I'm in a new culture here, I'm in a different culture, I'm not, when I go outside my house it's predominantly
Hmm.
white people that I see, or and you were blessed to have, the group of multicultural individuals that you had with you. But I guess, did you feel any sort of, like, um effect, and it's really hard for me to phrase it because it really
Okay.
is a feeling and a sense
Okay.
of, like, your place, your identity, your place in the world. Did you feel like that was questioned or judged or anything like that, having moved to a completely different cultural space? Did you feel like you kind of had to, like, hold firm to, like, parts of your culture that you could, and just to not let it go, to not let go that sense of familiarity with where you're from, and a connection to your country, your homeland, right? Your, family, or whatever that may be for you. So yeah, that's what I'm really, curious about for you.
Okay.
Honestly, I ask this question to most people, like,
Yeah.
what was it for you? Like, did you feel like you had to hold on to your sense of, like, Zambianness or Nigerianness, that, like, in a culture where you're kind of, you're qualified as black, nobody cares exactly where you're from, except it's in the middle of a conversation where you can actually articulate that, hey, I'm Zambian, I, even though I'm a black man, we have so many black countries, and this is where I'm from, and this is who I am, and this is my ancestry, my history, and stuff like that, my culture. So did you find that you felt that was a little bit questioned, or did you feel, how did you find your place culturally? um how did you find your place culturally in a space
Hmm.
that is not culturally yours, if that helps simplify
Okay.
the
It
the
it
question a
it
bit.
it it does. It does. So the parts of my Zambianness that I held on to was actually my tribe, like my tribal identity. So I come from a very 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 small tribe, very very small tribe, um, and with that being said, it made me feel very unique in a very culturally diverse country and space.
Hmm. Okay.
And because of that, my perspective on culture was I'm a global citizen. I can be anyone. But at
Mm.
the core of who I am a very unique, person. I know that, there are very few of us,
Mhm.
who even speak my language or come from where I come from or know. I'm almost like part of like a tribal secret society.
Ooh.
Yeah, but you know, I just I looked at myself as a global citizen. I felt like my belief was that despite being from the tribe that I'm from, I'm still a citizen of the world, right?
Mhm.
At the core of that was the belief that not only myself, but actually every human being deserves the right to view themselves as a global citizen, and even
Mhm.
going a step further, and I know this is like a tangent,
No, it's
but
okay.
going a step further into viewing into even maybe one day having free global transportation for every human being on the planet, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that, and making that a human right, so that everyone gets to see, at least in their lifetime, go around the whole world and travel, right, and open up their
Mhm.
perspective. So for
Mhm.
me, I viewed myself as a global citizen, even though at the core, I was like, my name is Mayanga. I have a very unique name. I come
Mhm.
from this tribe. We're very unique, but
Mhm.
I'm still part of this larger group, which is the rest of the world, and we're all unique in our own ways. And maybe some of us are more unique than others. Sometimes there's that ego going on there,
Yeah, yeah.
but that's how I viewed myself. And other than the religion, being free spirited, I didn't really change who I was. I was always,
Mhm.
just, yeah, at the core, my name and my tribe.
Yeah.
That was my anchor, and that's what I
That is
used to.
that is
Yeah,
incredible because it's
yeah,
very grounding, right?
yeah.
And I think for me, I kind of struggle a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, because from Nigeria to here, the difference is,
Hmm.
like, vast, both for better and for worse, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, like, um I admire you that you had such a very strong, like, I am Mayanga, and this is, I'm from this tribe, and that even gave you a little bit of a like ego lift and stuff
Yeah,
like that. And says
absolutely. Yeah,
incredibly beautiful. And
yeah,
for me, while of course I'm Nigerian any day, anytime, it's not going away.
yeah,
Um, but the fact that I found myself in a new space where I did not always feel like welcome. I did not always feel like I belonged here. I did not always feel, and maybe it's the people I was around. Because I was at the university here as well, and maybe it's just the way the university was structured, or the people that I was constantly around every day, and like rooms that I was put in, and I was just kind of made to feel like like a other, like a plant instead of a person,
okay,
unfortunately. So those moments and those encounters definitely made me like kind of question my own like place here, my own place in this
okay,
society, and my own identity in the larger identity of being Canadian and what that means. So I'm always really
okay.
curious. And now we thank God for life. I'm, in a way better space. I am Nigeria till I die. And that's a bit of an ego boost for me. You know,
Okay,
while I also kind of, like you were saying, just accept that I'm in this space where there are other so many beautiful cultures and so many beautiful people,
yeah,
so many beautiful races, and I get to be here and I get to live here and call this my second home, and create and collaborate and live within this new society, enjoy the good and the bad, because like I always
yeah,
say, there is no perfect society, right? So yeah, that's why I'm always really curious about other people and what their experiences are, because experiences are, can be vastly different, between people from, whether it's different genders or different like cultures, coming from different cultures, coming from different countries, and landing in different spaces and spaces you find yourself. So that's why I was asking that. I'm always really curious about that. So yeah, thank you for answering that. That's really cool. I'm really tempted to ask about your tribe now, but sharing if you want.
okay, okay.
I'm like,
No,
where's
for
this
sure.
small
Go
tribe
ahead.
in Zambia? Where's this small tribe in Zambia that you're like, we're kind of like a secret society? Like, what?
Yeah, we are. We are. Hmm? We do interplanetary travel. Hmm? We're in the.
Okay. If you
I'm
say
kidding.
so.
No, we don't do that. I wish. I wish. Hmm?
You cracked the code that NASA has been trying to crack for a long
Yeah,
time.
we cracked gravity, so we
Crack
we know how
gravity
to warp space and
and bend time and like
and bend time and traverse the cosmos. Huh? We've already been to the center of the universe, and we
the
met
galaxy.
yeah,
Yeah, met
the
all the
UN of the
peoples.
galaxy. We're just
Yeah.
waiting for you guys. I think you guys still have like maybe a couple 100,000 years, huh?
Oh, not
But you
100,000.
yeah, but you catch up. Hmm?
Okay, I mean, okay.
No, I'm
Oh, that's
kidding.
incredible.
So
Yeah, it's all
so
good.
the name of my tribe is we're the Senga people.
Mm.
So in Zambia, there's another tribe called it starts with N, and then it's
Hmm.
the same. It's pronounced Nsenga, but us, we're the Senga. We're the combination of a Congolese or a tribe originating from the southern region of the Congo called the Bisa.
Hmm.
So Bisa women were married off to men from Malawi,
Hmm.
Tumbuka. So Tumbuka is the biggest tribe in Malawi. There's
Hmm.
Tumbuka and Chewa. So a tribe from the eastern and then from Congo, kind of so men married women from the Congo or from the Bisa tribe, and
Hmm.
then we came to be who we are now, right?
Oh.
So that's why I said we're very small because all of us are for lack of like we're all related.
Ooh.
Everyone in the tribe is so you can't really marry within the tribe because
Yeah.
you're gonna find out that you share maybe a relative together
An
or
ancestry. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So we're
Okay.
we're we're a small tribe, but we're growing. Yeah,
That's incredible for an
yeah,
entire tribe to be family.
yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
don't think I've heard
So
of that before. That's like,
and
that's.
and even when I came here, I did like research because like when you're in university, you have access to all JSTOR and all
Yep,
those.
yep, yep.
Yeah, so I
Yes.
did research. I put up some papers, and there were some, explorers who first, came and encountered our tribe, and that's how I kind of knew like because like I didn't have grandparents who told me these kinds of stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you read the papers and people who came like in the 16th century or 17th century or early 19th century. They kind of tell you, and they show pictures, and then
Mm-hmm.
you kind of now understand more about where you
Yeah.
come from. So yeah,
Yeah, 100%. Thanks for sharing that. That's
no
incredible.
problem. Yeah.
Now I understand why you have that chip on your shoulder. You're like, we have our own tribe. Like you're
Yeah,
like, my peoples are my peoples for real,
yeah.
for real.
My peoples
So
are my peoples. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
That's awesome. Okay, so I want to ask about the subject of and we had this conversation in our initial chat about what the podcast
Yeah.
was going to be about, and something that I would ask I'm about to ask you is just runnings with the law.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard about the justice system in North America, specifically the US, where uh it's incredibly dangerous for you to be stopped by the police as a black man in your
Yeah.
car, and there's so many videos, and to be honest I cannot get myself to watch any of them because i
Okay.
will i will be broken. Like I just will not be able to stop the tears, and my heart just cannot take it at this point in time. So and right, for me personally, I've never been stopped by the police, thank Jesus, because thank the Lord, because I would not know how to handle myself. And it's not because I'm the best driver. I am not the best driver, but
Okay.
I feel like Angel Michael and Angel Gabriel just like but yeah, no, I'm really, I would really love for you to share this if you're comfortable
Okay.
about like the runnings you've had with the police, whether it's being stopped on traffic, or what that looks like. And not by no means am I saying that Canadian police, I mean, we've also heard stories about the
No.
Canadian police now. So
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm curious about what your story would be, or what your story is about those run-ins.
Yeah. Run-ins with the law. I've had a few. So I was driving. I recently did a long drive from Montreal to Calgary.
How long is
Um,
that?
it took me about 5 days. It was
Oh
very,
my
very fun.
gosh,
It
why
was
would you
so
do that?
much fun. I just, let's just say I just needed to do it. And it
Okay.
was like a solo trip, um, solo road trip.
Okay.
It was quite fun.
Wow.
So I was traveling with a car and I had temporary plates. So
Mm-hmm.
I was driving, and that was the first time I got stopped on the highway. And
Hmm.
then, but I like, as long as you have all your ducks in a row, um, you're usually fine, unless you meet that 10th percentile or whatever percentile, you know, person who really has something against you. Um, then you might be in trouble. But from my experience with the law, I find that um, it's really about, and this goes like whatever country you're in, whether
Of
you're in
course.
Nigeria,
Oh yeah.
Zimbabwe, South Africa,
Mm-hmm.
America, Switzerland, God knows.
Yeah.
Whenever you encounter the law, you have to, um, not physically, but virtuously. Do you say, you could, like, when you lie down on the floor? I think Nigerians do it. You guys do it.
Prostrates.
Prostrate, exactly. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You have to humble yourself,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that's going to always make your interaction with them smooth, even if they're just picking on you for the sake of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you humble yourself, they're not going to have any inkling to like press on you.
Mm-hmm.
So for my first stop, I wasn't even worried because someone flashed me and told me that the police, like when you're driving on the highway, they tell you, like, oh, like, slow down,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not sure if you've ever driven on, like, the, I think called Highway 1, Trans Canada Highway. I mean, you probably have, but if you're driving interprovincially, there's always signs like speeding fine is 500, and then times what is a
It goes up
thousand
from
dollars.
there.
Like, there's
It goes up from there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It goes
no,
up from
it goes
there.
up.
Yeah.
So someone like flashed and said, "Oh, reduce your speed." The police passed, and then they saw that I had temporary plates. Then they told another police car was behind them, like they communicated with each other. And I reduced my speed, and this other I see the second car passing me, and shortly I just see do a U-turn and starts following me behind. And I knew that they were gonna stop me. Then
Right.
eventually, like he's like behind one car, the other car like goes away. Then he turns on his lights, and I just gradually stop.
Mhm.
And then like they sit outside the car, they like look, and then they come. Okay, I noticed you don't have any plates.
Mhm.
You have your license? That's the first one.
Mhm.
Like, ah, okay, I got my license. Here you go.
Mhm.
You have proof of insurance? Ah, here you go. Oh, where are you coming from? Well, I'm coming from here. Okay,
Mhm.
you're going. All right. Okay, just give me a second. I'll check your plates, check your stuff. As long as you have all your ducks in a row,
Mhm.
you will be fine.
Okay.
But this is coming only from being stopped twice,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And obviously no one gets stopped all the time. You at least get stopped maybe once or twice, but I would say just make sure you have all your ducks in the row, because even if they were to go overboard and do something, there is you making sure that all your paperwork is good. um it will ensure that when it comes to court and maybe you have to defend yourself against them, they won't find you wanting of anything, right?
Yeah.
So I would say, and I'm not saying that as black folks we don't have our ducks in a row sometimes, but sometimes like you might be you might not know any better. Maybe you're
Okay.
a person, yeah, maybe you just moved here and you're having too much fun, and your friends like, oh, just drive the car, man, you'll be all
Mhm.
right. And then like you get
Mhm.
stopped, and like it's just those things, just
Yeah.
avoid stuff that's gonna get you
In
in
trouble.
trouble, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I
100%.
know this was like a long answer, so that's
No, that's
that's my
okay.
first like run in. And then obviously you have run-ins with police, like when you throw a house party, they come, hey, you guys better turn it down. you know they can't come in, but they'll definitely be at the door banging the door, and they'll have the lights on and all that stuff. So
Right.
I've experienced that. I've experienced a neighbor a few years ago who committed suicide in my
Oh.
building. And I was heading to work, and I was just saw the lights on, and because of where I was staying, and there was a high like traffic area, I was just like, oh, whatever. The
Mhm.
next thing I know, I hear the door, like the police at the door, and um they're like, oh, do you know that your neighbor next door, did you guys hear anything? We're like, no. And they basically told us that our neighbor like committed suicide. So yeah, like the body was like down
That's so
there.
sad.
Yeah. So those are like those are some of the encounters. I did also have a bad one where I was actually heading over to see my friends. I was at the bus stop, and then this police car,
Okay, in quotation
right?
marks.
It looks like a police car, everything.
Yeah.
The dead giveaway was this guy was wearing regular clothes, but he had a bulletproof vest on. And he was asking like, "Oh, where are you going? Where are you coming from?" And like for me, I was like, I had to virtually prostrate, right? Because I'm just
Yeah.
like, you never know what could happen.
Mm.
And he asked me these questions. And it was only later on that I realized that maybe he was a fake police person. So you also have to think about, because that's something that happens a lot in North America. There are a lot of
Really?
gentlemen who are not police. They, maybe they've had a bit of training or something, but they're not police, and they have no right to arrest to even stop you or ask you questions. So I'm not saying that it happens all the time, but it's something that you might encounter. So you also have to kind of keep your eye
Like,
open for that, right?
what do they want though? What is the point of? Is
it's
it just
just
like
like
an ego trip or what?
yeah, it's an ego trip, it's a power trip, it's I can do this and get away with it. Maybe they get a high off of it. I'm sure if you go on YouTube and type like fake cops, you find them, and
Oh my
they're
god.
more prevalent like in the US, but here you might also find them. So it was only
Wow.
because he didn't even lead the conversation that much. It was me who was because I was asking like, "Oh, are you looking for someone?" He stopped me and oh, do you have ID? Where are you going? Like those are not
From
regular
at the
questions.
bus stop
Yeah,
too. Like that
like
does
so
not
weird. So I was like,
happen. Were
"Are you
you
looking for
speeding too
someone?"
fast on the bus stop? Like what?
Like I'm literally just waiting for a bus.
Wow.
And this, so it was only later that I realized I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe he was a fake cop, right? Because he had yeah. So I've experienced that as well.
That is
Um,
crazy. Wow. Thank you for sharing. For me, I think like and again, like police everywhere. I think there's just
mm,
like a general distrust because like, unfortunately people sometimes abuse their power and it's not
yeah.
necessarily it's not just in North America. Like in Nigeria too, sometimes the
Mm-hmm.
police they just do anyhow and it's, all over the world. And then, there's some encounters with policemen or police people who are the nicest thing. Like very
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh, okay." And it's just positive, right? And then sometimes they're just picking on you. Like my brother had an experience once where he was driving. He was not
Mm-hmm.
speeding because my brother, he's one of my brothers here. He when he's driving, he does not answer his phone. He's very focused on the driving. He does not like distraction. He's very like, let
Yeah.
me get to point A to point B as quickly, as safely as safely as possible without anything. So he's one of those, like, he's especially with driving, he doesn't really play around with that. He just is very diligent with his driving and whatnot. So he was going to, I think it was Chestermere or something like that.
Okay.
And he, how you while you're driving you can see the other, like the opposite lane or
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah. Yes.
coming. Yeah, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's a road, a bit of a, like a small ditch or whatever that
Okay.
divides both. And it's
Yeah.
not necessarily a ditch, like a person could drive through it if they wanted to.
Or
um
like yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
yeah, and he was driving and then he
Mm-hmm.
saw this police car. uh,
Mm-hmm.
he saw it approach, like he saw it, he
Mm-hmm.
just, how you're driving, so he saw it
Mm-hmm.
come on like the opposite way.
Yeah.
And then he saw, like, how you can see your rev or whatever, your
Yeah.
mirrors, he saw it like drive through the divider into this lane where he was, and
Yeah.
it's so the car stopped him. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's literally it's just a weird, the police car did a U-turn to stop this guy.
Okay.
And it said, "So do you know why I stopped you today?" My brother's like, "I don't know, because I was not speeding."
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Well, actually, and he started kind of talking that actually you were
Mm-hmm.
speeding, blah blah blah." And honestly, it was the end of the month, so my brother's like, they were just looking to give tickets out,
Yeah.
for the end of the month. They have a quota, or whatever. That was
Mm-hmm.
what my brother was convinced, but my brother had to argue down the price. Like, initially, he was going to give him a ticket of like a fine of like $500 or something like that. My brother's like, for what? I was not
Mm-hmm.
speeding. I have someone else in this car. I don't like I do not like issues when I'm driving. So tickets, all that, I don't like it. So with driving, I will be as focused and safe as possible. And it's like, yeah, well, like the guy's like, yeah, young man, unfortunately I have to give you this ticket, blah, blah, blah. And so he argued it down from like 500 to like maybe 200 and something, or 100 and something dollars. And my brother came home and was so upset because he's like, how did this man even know that I was speeding?
Mm.
Like, how do you know you don't have a radar gun? You didn't use a radar gun to check if I was speeding.
Yeah.
You didn't, like, how did you know I was speeding? And after he gave my brother the ticket, he went through the divider again. He went through the road divider or whatever and went right back where he was going, the opposite direction.
Okay. Yeah. That's that he was trying to meet a quota.
Yeah, and
That's
that
exactly what happened.
it just
Mm-hmm.
was like, why pick on me? you know? And then it's hard not to think about race when it comes to situations like that, of course, right?
Yeah.
So that's an example of not so great encounter. It wasn't, dangerous to his life, but he also was very careful with arguing because he didn't want to like
Yeah.
aggravate or, yell or show that he was mad or upset, because then you can trigger whatever, right? So he was just trying to have like a sir. I was just trying to be firm and like, and when he came home, he's like, I should have asked. I should have asked for the Raider gun, whatever. I should have asked for the this. Or I'm like, bro, you made it home. Thank God for life, okay? You know.
But I'll say this, sorry to interrupt.
Of course, yeah, it's fine.
That shouldn't be a that shouldn't be the minimum for us as Black people to say, "Thank God I came home."
I
You know,
know
we're supposed to
exactly.
come home all the time.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I think that one thing also, as much as I've said that, I was a global citizen, I wasn't blind to the fact that, in the justice system here, and even socially, when Black people are angry, and even just people of color, like maybe Middle Eastern or brown folks,
Hmm.
when they get angry, it it causes, um, I'll say, it will cause white people to get their guard up.
Hmm.
For some reason, subconsciously, they feel like when we raise our voices, that we're about to, attack them.
Yep.
So it's very frustrating when you have to realize that even for you to truly express your feelings, especially if you're angry, it can actually cause things to get worse,
Yeah.
right? Or
It can
or
really
but
aggravate. Yeah.
but other people of maybe like who are on the fairer side, like maybe white, or they can get mad, they can scream, and nothing will happen, right?
Nothing.
But if
Yeah, they can
but
fight the police and nothing will
Yeah,
happen.
but if you just raise your voice, they get intimidated. Next thing you know, you're in cuffs,
Yeah.
right? In zero
Yep.
point 0.2 seconds, you're like, turn around, hands behind your back,
Yeah. Yep.
you know, and then next thing you know, you're in the station. They're scanning your fingerprints and telling you your rights and all these things.
Yeah.
So it's an unfortunate thing you have to be aware of.
Mhm.
But I feel that, I mean, thankfully, I haven't had many encounters with the police. I'm not saying that, my unique experience determines what it's like for everyone else,
Of course.
because it changes province to province. If maybe I was in Toronto, I'd have a different opinion because of,
Yeah.
what's going on there.
Yep.
Or if I was in Montreal or something, I'd have a different experience.
Mhm.
But, I was in Vancouver. It's much more different there. You don't
Mm.
really In general, you don't really encounter the police, you
Mm.
know. Yeah. So my view on them and the law enforcement and justice system,
Mhm.
it's 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 not
It's
very it's
flawed.
not yeah it's flawed. It's not a full picture. So
Mhm.
yeah, as much as I know that they have their issues that they need to fix in
Mhm.
terms of the implicit racial bias,
Mhm.
that's a very real thing.
Yep.
And I remember there was a test that Harvard made. I think I took it as well when I was in university. Did you ever take that implicit bias test?
I don't know. I don't remember university that much.
So it's like a survey. So they show you pictures of races and ask you questions,
Okay.
and then it determines whether or not you have an implicit bias. Most people who take it, you're gonna have an implicit bias,
Mhm.
So. Uh, but judicially, you do see it even with how the law is, what's the term? Like how the law is exercised, you see it.
Mhm.
Um, but it's just always good to be aware. Luckily, I'll just end by when it comes to this, like even when I'm back home, I still act the same, because when we're back home, the police are way more violent. Why?
Yo.
Because they're trained from a colonial police structure, and
Yes.
that training hasn't been updated since the 60s and 70s,
Yeah.
where they're trained more like riot police, unlike, you know, customer service police here. So
Oh, not customer service police. I've
Does
never
it?
heard that term before in my life. I've never heard that in my life. Wow. Okay, sorry, continue.
Like when you wanna go and get scan your fingerprints or whatever, it's customer service police. So like, yeah, we can line up over there, sit here, Uh, so,
Right.
but back home, if when you look at the economic structure, right? They're not
Mhm.
paid very well. They're trained very violently. There's a lot of corruption. They're having a bad day, and then you come there with your Canadian accent, with your Canadian license, and you're saying, "I know my rights."
My
They
friend.
they they are going to make sure that put you below their boot, and they
Yeah.
might not beat you, but they can detain you and
Just make your
humiliate
life
you.
miserable.
Yeah,
Just make you
yeah. So
extremely uncomfortable. Yeah.
back home, I never use. I default back to my Zambian
You just
accent.
bring out
I
your
just
Niger
yeah,
accent. Just
it
speak
just yeah,
pidgin. Just
just
speak your
chill,
vernacular. Speak the language. Like, yeah, I completely get what you're saying, and that's why I said earlier. Like, I feel like police all over the world. Like, there's
Yeah,
something to do with that power structure that just kind of makes people weary and makes people
yeah.
uncomfortable, right? I saw an Instagram post. I don't really watch the news.
Okay,
The news finds me via social media because again, I can't take a lot of the bad news that I hear.
okay. I
So
understand.
um I saw I don't know if it was Black History Month or whatever, but it said something about how the origin of the police was actually to find slaves, to find escaped slaves. Um
Really?
yeah, in
Okay.
the US or in North America, like how the
Oh, okay,
police
okay,
the
okay,
police
okay.
structure, how it was, how
Mm,
it began was to make sure that slaves did not escape, when or if they did, then these were
mm.
the people that were trained to go look for, find, detain, bring them back, punish, whatever, like whatever the case may be. I don't know how true this is. I'll have to go do my research myself, but that was a really interesting thing to hear. Um
Well, I'll just add on to that. I think I don't know. I haven't done my research on that, but it does make sense because the idea of the police is to protect people and property, right?
mhm.
And at some point in America, black people weren't people; they were
Yeah,
property,
they were
right?
property. That's true.
So if you're trying to, to protect, well, not really protect, but return people's property, then that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
And also like in Nigeria, for instance, in year 2020, you may
yeah.
have heard about the End SARS movement.
Yes, but I didn't know the full story, but I did hear about it.
Because I'm in Canada, most of what I saw was people who were live streaming what was happening. So we
Okay.
were like getting the news, quote and unquote, from people who were literally there, like going through it. But it was so interesting that when it filtered back to news stations, it was so diluted. It was made to seem like the people were being the aggressors. People were just literally, they were, nobody hurt anyone.
Mm,
But then unknown gunmen, right? Unknown. Did you not hear about this? The unknown gunmen
mm.
came, and then it became a whole thing where shooting and all sorts of things were happening, and it was a really bad, like it was a really really bad time, and people, a lot of people died, a lot of people were hurt, disfigured, people had to get amputated, like it was a whole thing.
Wow.
And I don't want to go too much into it, but it's just an example of, people trying to stand on their rights to kind of march and, say that this is something they're no longer comfortable with, and the government should do
Mm,
something about it. And it just is it was an arm of the police, I believe. It was this special unit where they were supposed to apprehend like criminals or
yeah,
cybercrime,
armed
like
robbers.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
We have that as well in
yeah.
in in Zambia, and they're very violent. They
But
they
yeah,
yeah
they were
they,
very violent. They were profiling people. So the moment, if you have a tattoo, if you're a
mm,
guy, you have a full beard and you have dreads, if you have a laptop in your car, you're
mm.
using it for 419. For those that know, you know what 419 means. You are doing Yahoo Yahoo. And it was just all this stereotyping and profiling of people,
Mm,
where if you're a young man or a young person and you're driving a nice car, you're immediately a suspect. if you're and it was just all these things that made no sense. How can you tell me that, like, as a young man I cannot wear my hair how I want to wear my hair because now I'm a criminal? Do you get what I mean? So it became a big thing that, now, SARS is no longer
Mm,
a structure or a body in Nigeria, but hopefully it stays that way and they don't, get resurrected. But yeah, I say all that to just say that, like, when it comes to, like, people, especially people that have the legal right to hurt
mm,
in the name of what they think is right, right? Because sometimes you don't know what the truth is. Just like I was saying with SARS, they were stereotyping
yeah,
and profiling people for no, like, on unbased profiling and unbased judgments on people, and they would, assault or whatever the case may be. But yeah, no, I think when it comes to that power structure, that power dynamic with, like, the average human, and then
mm,
a legally supported body or outfit that has the right to, be violent,
yeah,
right? And they're protected in their right to do so. That just causes a massive distrust, and I feel like there has been reason and just that distrust has been extremely justified, especially for black
yeah.
folks here in North America and, in places all over the world. So
Um, Not really. I was just gonna say that it sounded more like, because obviously I don't know the full story of what happened,
yeah.
and you've just broken it down for me. It just sounds like, as you said, people are moving, or certain groups within like law enforcement have impunity, right? And this even goes higher up. We might not see it here in North America because maybe you have like the SWAT team. SWAT team will only come when there's a bomb threat, or like there's a,
Yeah.
armed robber, and even then they
If they're
won't really. And
hostages or
yeah,
like,
and
yeah,
even
and
like
stuff like that.
terror, they'll come. But then when you look at other organizations, right? What's higher than in North America? What's higher than the police? You have the FBI. What's
FBI.
higher than FBI? CIA,
Yeah.
CIA, and
Fed.
NSA,
Navy.
right?
Yeah.
You know, Pentagon. These are organizations who you don't know what they do, right? But they not only have impunity within their region of North America, but they have impunity all over the world, right? Those guys are like they're the same as the violent police who have, the armed and or anti-theft police, right?
Hmm.
Except they're not stopping corrupt people around the world. They're causing the corruption, you know. They're
Whoa.
so it's there's it's there almost at every level,
Hmm.
and in every country it's there, right? So even here, as much as we have customer service police, the
Please stop saying that.
the
Please stop saying
the
that.
the the real people who have, that kind of impunity, like it's celebrated here. And you hear about special forces,
Hmm.
special forces, and I'm not saying anything bad about them, but some of the things that they do, or the instructions that they receive, or even the higher ups in these other organizations, they it's never stopped them from being corrupt. I'm not saying that they're corrupt, but they can be used as a tool for a corrupt outcome, because they just know it's almost like having a gun, right? If you have a
Hmm.
unit of five special ops, you know that they can go into a house, do this, do that. They can stop Osama bin Laden. Wow, great. But they
Hmm.
can also go and do something else. Do you remember? I think this was maybe 2 years ago when the president of Haiti was assassinated.
I do not watch the news. I told
Okay, the
you.
president of,
So I
of
did not
Haiti was,
know
was
this.
assassinated, and
Oh Lord.
I think the people who assassinated him were hired. I'm not saying which, there's a country that was involved, your organization, but they
Hmm.
paid people, right? And some of them I think were
Right.
Americans,
Right.
right?
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
right, so it's more so just like, the I'll just end by saying this: these special units, they're not bad per se.
Of
because
course.
they do serve a purpose. But like any weapon, right? It's about the gun isn't bad, it's the user,
The
right?
use exactly.
The user, right? But at the end of the day, when you look at now these units are within the police and how they are structured, right? They
Mm-hmm.
now say, I have the power because my boss is I'm reporting to the inspector general, right?
Mm-hmm.
No one can stop me.
Right.
So if I want, I can go and slap a person and do this and do that because I'm a big man, you know?
Mm.
Yeah. So there's, that's why I always say, whenever you encounter them, just virtually prostrate yourself.
Yeah.
If you're mad that day, put your temper in your pocket.
Just
Just,
yeah. Put your temper in your pocket.
just
Just put
because
it in the
man,
freezer and cool down. Yeah.
one of my biggest fears is being slapped by a police
Did
because
you
I
say
see people get,
slapped?
yeah, not even punched, slapped. Because some of the
Whoa.
slaps that I've seen online or even like in real life, I wouldn't want to be on the other end of that.
You've seen the police slap people?
Yeah,
Where?
online,
Oh, online.
O-
I haven't. I've never seen
online,
that.
online, and in real life.
Yeah. Wow. And
Yeah.
another thing though about the police is that in as much as, especially in Canada, I can,
Mm.
um, in as much as we talk about, yeah, police, black people, when it comes to even the indigenous folks,
Oh yeah.
it's
Oof.
it's a it's another level. It's another
Ye-
level. It's another level, and it's really heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's
And
extremely heartbreaking. Yeah.
it's really heartbreaking how they're treated in their land. I mean, ugh, anyway, but yeah, thank you so much, Maya, for coming on today and
Yeah.
engaging in this interesting conversation with me. It's been such a pleasure to have you here today.
No, thank you so much. It was really fun.
Yeah, of course. So before you
Yeah.
leave, please tell us a word of advice. Give us a word of advice, a sprinkle of wisdom and knowledge, an African proverb, something, that we can take with us through the rest of the week.
Mm, well, I wasn't ready for that, but I'll say
You
that
were wait. You were not ready. When I
I was not
told
ready.
you, I
Eh?
told you that we will ask you a word of advice.
Okay, you did. I wasn't ready right now, but now I'm ready.
Okay,
So
cool.
I would say, I think now more than ever, um, we need to develop a relationship with God. However, you decide to do that, it's up to you. But I think now, the time that we're living in right now, and I'm not saying this in a prophetic way, like a revelations, the end times are near. No,
Hmm.
it could be, as I said, some of us were intergalactic, or you catch up in the year 3000, or 300,000. You might not
Intergalactical.
catch up, but yeah, there's no better time than now or whenever you get the chance to get close to God. And if that means you have to get close to God through church, maybe through African spirituality, however you try to do that, but try and have a relationship with God. And I feel that for now, at least this season that I'm in,
Hmm.
and with all the experience that I've had being free spirited and all that, that's the only thing I can say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, just just have a relationship with God. It doesn't have to be, it would be nice to work with Jesus, but however you get there, just get there. Have that
Mm.
relationship.
Hmm.
And that it's always good to have that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Mm.
You folks have heard it. Again, thank you, Maya, for your time and just being here and sharing your story with us. Really appreciate you. And yeah, until our next episode, we're gonna say bye bye and have a
Bye.
good one.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Had a good time.
For sure. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Bye bye.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Afros in the Diaspora. I hope this episode left you feeling inspired and hopeful. To engage, feel free to like, follow, share, and subscribe to Afros in the Diaspora on all social media and podcast platforms. Remember to leave a review and a rating. If you would like to be a guest, please reach out. Send an email to hi@afrosinthediaspora.com. That is hi@afrosinthediaspora.com, or send us a DM on Instagram at afrosinthediaspora. Remember, there is beauty in our stories and power in our voices. Together, we are stronger. Until next time.